Hi, this is Scott. Welcome to the Tall Woodworker. In this video, I'm doing a Scrapwood challenge. Stick around, I'll show you what I build. So, winter is quickly approaching here in the not-so-sunny state of Illinois. And just like last year, I'm starting to focus on closing down my garage shop so we can actually park our cars in here. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to have no videos or anything like that. It just means I have to kind of pare down a bit. But while I was going through my scrap bin, I found these cutoffs from a few previous projects. And you might have seen those videos. I built the chaotic cutting boards. Those are the primary ones. And then I also turned a desk sets out of some of the cutoffs from those cutting boards. Now, those cutting boards are one of my favorite things that I made, and it's pretty much one of my most popular videos that I've made to date. So absolutely love those. But these cutoffs were different thicknesses, different widths. There was no way that they could go into those boards, and I was having a hard time trying to figure out what I would do for another project. And it hit me, well, they made good cutting boards then, why not try making another cutting board? So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video here. So now the purpose of a Scrapwood challenge project is to literally only go through your Scrapwood bin. You're not supposed to be going out and buying new wood to fill in something for a project, or if you have a full board that you're like, oh, I just need a little piece off of that. No, that's not the idea. The idea is to use only the stuff that's in your scrap bin. Now, if you have a wider cutoff and you just need a small portion of that, that's fine. But I wouldn't go and take a full 6-foot board and be like, I need 3 inches from that. No, that's not the idea behind a Scrapwood challenge. So if you're going to do it the right way, that's the way you should be doing it. Go through your Scrapwood bin. So the cutoffs consisted of maple, purple heart, walnut, padauk, wenge. I think there was still some cherry left in there as well. Just had a few strips of all those. And while I was rooting through my bin, I also found some red oak from the coffee table I built that I know I've said before completely lost the footage of that video. But since that was red oak, I really couldn't put those into a cutting board because red oak is very porous, probably not the best material for a cutting board. So I have a different project for those red oak pieces. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell notification icon because I'm working on that project while working on a few others, and that video should pop up in a few weeks to a month or so. So with that being said, let's get started. Some of these pieces were about twice the length of the rest, so I cut them down so that they're all about the same length. This has an added benefit of giving me even more material to work with. Next, I start to organize these in the order I want to see them. I try not to repeat any patterns or have the same species next to each other. There was enough variety to let this happen. Then I could get out my gluing rig, lay out the strips, and gets to gluing. Before I clamp, I make sure to line up all the boards on one edge. That maximizes the amount of board I can use. When I clamp, I use one clamp up on top and push down on it. This prevents any bowing as I'm clamping up the other sides. After the glue dried up, I scrape off the squeeze out on one side, then I can send it through the planer. Now, these boards were all sorts of different thicknesses, or thicknye as a certain YouTuber says. So I knew I was going to have to sacrifice some wood to the wood chip gods. But it didn't take long before I had 2 flat and smooth sides. Once flattened, I can take the board to my crosscut sled and true up one end. Then I set my rip fence to about 1.25 inches, and I began cutting out strips. Now I can rotate the appropriate pieces to use all 4 possible orientations and look at what I have. I was really happy with the way it was looking, so it was time to start the glue up. When gluing these together, I tried my best to make sure that the pieces were properly aligned. This isn't exactly a chaotic board, and while I wanted some randomness, I didn't want the layers to be misaligned. Now, in my previous Endgrain cutting board video, I mentioned how I did not want to run the Endgrain through my planer, and that still holds true. Some people suggested that I attach a waste block to prevent tear out on the ends while planing, but my fear really wasn't a little raggedness at the ends. My fear was the board turning into, well, this or this. Now, maybe it would have been just fine, and I know several people who do it successfully. I choose not to. A belt sander and some headphones with some good music playing is all I need to keep me going. Now, I did pick up a new belt sander that has a real dust port, unlike the Harbor Freight one, so I can control the dust this time. I use a very coarse 36 grit belt to get all the high spots down, and in a few minutes, it was good and flat. Okay, enough sanding talk in this video. Now it was time to square up the board. I used the crosscut sled to get the first edge straight. Then, I made cuts around the rest of the sides, referencing that newly cut straight edge. Unfortunately, this is where I noticed that some of the seams had a gap towards the edge. Additionally, the edges were a bit uneven with how the species laid out. So the only way I could get it looking right was to just keep making cuts along the walnut areas. This meant I had to lose about 1 inch from the width of the board. Now here I'm trying something a bit different, and instead of putting a groove on the bottom, I'm just putting a 30-degree bevel around the edges for a finger hold. Using an 80 grit disc, I rounded over the corners and sand the chamfers. Then I use my trim router to add an 1/8 inch round over on the top. Now I can sand the board up to 150, raise the grain, then a final sand of 180 before putting it in the mineral oil bath. Now come on, you can't do a mineral oil bath without the required slow motion shot. After soaking for a few hours, I let it dry overnight. The following day, I apply my oil and carnauba wax blend to the board to seal in the oil. I let this set in for a few hours, wipe off the excess, then I can drill the holes for the feet and finish the board. And there is the final board. Now, unfortunately, it came out a bit smaller than I wanted it to. I had to cut off some of the width from this because there was a little bit of the glue up that didn't quite stick properly, so there were some cracks forming, and I don't know, I didn't feel right just filling that up with glue, so I decided to cut those off and make it right. This is the first time I ever used a chamfered edge instead of kind of a inset handle, and it's actually pretty nice. I might actually start using this for more boards in the future. All in all, this turned out really nice. It's got a good thickness to it, and as you can see, I turned those really thin strips into something that has some weight to it, and that's kind of the important thing with the Scrapwood challenge. So again, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I have another Scrapwood challenge video coming out shortly. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. That's fine. Be sure to leave a comment down in the description as well. A huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon. And until next time, thanks for joining me in my shop.